This is Keshu Karma, and you're watching Experts Inside by All Things Connected. We are starting 2021 with a lot of hopes. Organizations and individuals are looking to reap the benefit of AI, 5G, IoT, data science, blockchain, and many more such technologies. While science can prove what may work and find the solution, but commercialization at scale is what makes it impactful. And this is one of the key areas most of the organizations struggle with, the commercialization of technology at scale. Today I have with me Sachin Kasture, Regional Commercial and Procurement Head of WPP, and we're going to discuss the commercialization challenges that organizations face and how they should potentially address those. Welcome, Sachin.
Thanks,
And
CK.
yeah, and maybe you could do a short introduction for the viewers and tell us why you chose to be in commercial role and how you ended up in the current role.
Sure, CK. First of all, I'm very happy New Year to you and your listeners. Thanks for inviting here. So yeah, as you said, I'm basically engineer. Like engineers can do anything, right? So I end up starting with technical background and end up in more of a commercial role. I did my masters from IIT Roorkee in India. Then moved to oil and gas industry as my first job. It was quite a unique role where I used to buy products and services and then sell it to the oil companies. So it was kind of project management role, but it gave me insight into both commercial world. One is buying and then selling it to the client. So then you end up working not only with suppliers, but you end up working with financial controllers. You understand what ROI is, how to make money out of these, and so on and so forth. So I was blessed to get such first role, which gave me introduction to the commercial world. Then I moved to consulting. So as typical management consultant, that really helped me to increase my horizon. I was now working with different kind of industries. I was working with different stages of companies, so right from the startup world to big MNCs who will hire us for consulting projects. Spent good 3-4 years into consulting, and then moved to my current job in WPP. So I started with setting up a procurement function in India. To now, from last 2 years, I'm based in Singapore, looking after regional procurement and commercial activities. So
Very nice.
that's the journey so far.
Very nice. Welcome to Singapore. I hope you've been enjoying so far.
Yeah, 2 years flown by, and it's
Right.
good to be here.
So yeah, so to continue our discussion and to help viewers, let's break our discussion into both sides of the ecosystem, solutions providers as well as solution seekers. And within solution providers, if you look at the companies who are providing emerging technologies solutions, we can address broadly into three categories. One is startups who are pretty much, as we know, ideation, building up business models, putting across MVPs, and maybe doing some commercials, small POCs here and there. Right. And then there are scale ups who are pretty much ready to commercialize the solutions at scale. And then there are large organizations like MNCs who are established player in those domains.
Right.
And then we have other sides like solution seekers who are looking to implement these technologies in their business and operational, such as manufacturing, supply chain, buildings, healthcare, and so on. Right.
Yeah.
I know, Sachin, you have been advising several startups. And as we know, during the startup stage, the focus pretty much to just build technologies, increase valuation, raise fundings, and so on and so forth. So, from your experience and your experience, obviously, with the large companies, could you share your thoughts where the most startups struggle and what they should do and keep in mind while ideating, building technologies and business plans uh, to raise money? Any thoughts to support and help the startups?
Yeah, I mean that's really interesting question, right? I think most important thing is startup should recognize that commercial skill is an important skill to have. I think a lot of time when I speak with founder, they kind of downgrade the commercial aspect of it, in terms of, no, I'm busy with my technical stuff, and these things will be taken care in future by someone else. I think that's the biggest mistake which startup does. I think,
Right.
I'm not saying you should have like a commercial expert in house from day one, but at least you should recognize and get yourself educated on what the future lies, why we need to have a good commercial angle. And this comes from two way. One is like setting up the right pricing, um, maybe proposing how to sell the proposals and so on. And also it could be with how to save money in future once they get the funding. So I think that's the key aspect of at that stage. Also, one more thing which startups should recognize is they have to be quite transparent with their clients at this stage. They have to say that, listen, we are starting this for first time. We know our base value is, let's say, X, and this is now margin we are looking for. This will help them in two ways, right? One, client will trust them because they see a new company or new startup being very honest with the commercial aspect. And second is, if they come up with unforeseen financial risk, they can go back to client and say, listen, we were not aware of it. As you know, this was our plan, this is what margins we're looking for. So I think that's the angle which is important. First is recognize that it's a key skill. Second is identify how you can educate yourself. And third one, being transparent with your clients.
Right. For the same group of audience, the startups communities, again, I'm sure you have seen this many times that even the large companies sometimes, if I say term, use the startups to do a lot of free POCs. And here is the startup because they need a lot of logos in the profile that yes, we did this POC here and there and there. They end up doing a lot of POCs as such. In your view, what would you suggest to the startup that okay, I personally don't advise them to do free POC, and
Right.
when I say free POC, doesn't mean the exchange of a dollar, but there have to be value.
Correct.
Whether you do it at 100% discount is a different thing. So, any recommendation for the startups on when they are looking to kind of run around to capture the customers, uh, and how do you again bring a commercial angle to it?
I think it's very simple for me. If doing a free work is part of your business plan, then do it. If you are just doing it for the sake of getting client, I'm sure you will run into the trouble. So I always advise startups to couple it with a long goal. So for example, if we get the business, we'll consider the first portion as free. And if we don't get the business, then let's say we will be charging, I don't know, $100 for it. So you in a way show your intention to do it free, but it has to be part of long strategy, and can't be like freebies giving to right, left, and center, right?
Right, right. So correct. So I think this is something which startups should look into, like you said, when they're putting even the POC proposal, while both the parties are learning, the startups as well as the customers. So there should be some commercial agreement, like you said. If the success criteria which were defined are met, then this is the commercial value. If it
Correct.
fails for whatever reason, okay, then it is an investment from both the side and gives a time and money. And if things proceed, that kind of potential commercial agreement may follow certain thing.
And again, it falls down to the last point which I mentioned, being transparent, right? A lot of procurement nowadays understand the working ways of working with startups, right? They understand what they are getting into. So if a startup meets with mature procurement, that's the best case scenario, because both sides will understand each other. If one of the side is not fully committed, I think the commercial agreements which you mentioned helps really.
Correct, correct. So yeah, so let's move on to the next level of company, which is we call it scale up. And as you know, again, the scale up are typically who have been in the business for several years, have a regional side of the team, might have raised Series A, a couple of $1 million, and maybe have done commercial paid projects, if I can say. Maybe not the large scale, but at
Right.
least proven the the business and the technology. But even at this stage, again, based on my experience and talking to many of such organizations, their challenges this stage are different, which is basically the revenue focus. Because for them to go from Series A to Series B and C and so forth, they need to show the revenue in the books. Right now, they cannot do any more free POC to collect logos,
Yeah.
and they have to act and they have to get kind of ramping up strategy for commercialization, and this is where sometimes they struggle. So, any thoughts on the company when their stage, scale up stage, and what they need to approach commercialization?
On a very lighter note, I keep asking founders that where you celebrate your funding last time, and then you get a lot of funny responses, right? A lot of interesting responses, and you kind of gauge it, how um, the commercial acumen for that startup is. And again, if it is your part of your business plan, let's say I had a lavish party on one of the beaches in Sentosa because I am a travel industry startup. It makes sense. But
Mhm.
you just did it because you got funding. Again, it's not the right thing to do. So again, at this stage, I think this is the most crucial stage, right? Once you get the funding, because you are now really making your ways to become a huge, big firm going further, right? So I think this is the right time to invest in commercial talent. Um,
Right.
you should have someone, either internal or external, helping you, guiding you in this journey. It's very important that founders are, again, educated on all these commercial matters. So there are two things into commercial, right? One is procurement, like buying things and saving on your bottom line, and second is selling revenue, your top line growth. And
Right.
both the things you have to look in together at this stage. Again, a lot of companies make a mistake at this stage, is equating CFO equal to commercial, which is not the case. I mean,
Mhm.
CFO has a very unique set of job and on compliance and on managing procurement in a way, but not really the full commercial aspect. So this is the right time to manage, get a in-house commercial talent if you can afford. That is one way. Second is you should now start selecting good supplier base. You should not work with someone who will get you into financial risk and financial troubles. So choose your suppliers wisely, have a long-term strategy on your procurement, make sure you are aware how you are spending each and every dollar in the company. And the third one, on revenue side, again, this is very key, and pretty much in startups are focusing in this domain. One is you should know where you sit in your client procurement eyes, right? What I mean to say is you should know where you fall into. Are you a direct category supplier? Are you an
Right.
indirect category supplier? Because it makes all the sense when you put up the costing. If you are a direct category supplier, I can actually get back to the real value of your product or services. If you are indirect category supplier, it's a tough thing to do. And I know your audience is mostly in digital startup
Right.
world.
Yeah.
I think they should understand that they mostly fall into indirect category, so
Right.
they should know how to keep your pricing. One of the common mistake which this level company does is they have a blanket rate for all the clients, which is the
Mhm.
worst thing to do, because of two reasons. One, you don't know the client's paying capacity. Maybe they want to pay more because this particular service or product is very important to their business.
Right.
There might be another client who don't want to spend this much because this particular product or service is not important. So you should have a customized pricing for each and every client. If you are having same pricing for two clients, you are doing something wrong. So that's one of the key things which at this stage people should understand. You should also have like a lot of trade list ready at this point of time, because chances are you will face negotiations.
Mhm.
And when I say trade list, only pricing is not the thing which you can offer, right? let's say you are into I don't know, internet of things. Then you can say, listen, I mean, I'll work with you, this is my price point, but you know what, for your team I'll have a 1 day seminar when I
Mm,
can educate your guys on this, and
yeah,
that becomes your pricing package, right, along with
yeah,
dollar. So all these things, three things matter. Get someone who knows commercial, get a help, either it's internal or external. Make sure your procurement is commercially savvy. You know what you are buying. You know you are comparing the whole value as well as risk. And the final is focus on your revenue, focus on your pricing, have different pricing for each clients and so on.
right. Makes sense. And just one more little deeper. So, one thing which you mentioned that a lot of companies confuse CFOs with commercial team. So, if I just ask like some of the five top key skills a company should look into this particular commercial individual, whether in-house or outsource, but what the five skills they should be looking into.
Okay. So one will be knowing your business in and out. Um, uh, in our childhood from India, whenever the government will publish the budget, you will see a pie chart in all the newspaper. It used to
Right.
show how Indian rupee will be earned and how that rupee will be spent, right? So this commercial person should know both the things: how a company is earning $1 and how they plan to spend that $1. So that's the number one skill you should have. Second is you should know where we stand in terms of client procurement, like where exactly we are. Um, they have knowledge of direct, indirect categories and so on.
Mm-hmm.
The third one is the commercial person should know the bottom line. They should know how much cost it will take to make this product or service. He or she should know where I can get this particular service um, in the best rate with the best value, best quality in order to sell it to the client or use it as part of my product to sell it. So that's another skill. So maybe I think we cover three. Fourth one is having a good project management record. It's important that you know what happened in the past. You know all the timelines. For example, you know that your contract is coming up for renewal in 90 days. So this person should start preparing for that negotiation. And one of the things could be list out all the things which you saved for client.
Right.
List out all the concern from our supplier. Talk to your supplier saying, listen, I'm going for this negotiation, do you have any concern on price point? So the person should be good on project management. I think that's the fourth one. And final will be like anything else in the world, he or she should have soft skills. It's very important to talk to different team, understand what they do, treat all the sections in the company equally, and understand their importance and bring everything when he or she is making that proposal to the client. I think these are the five skills I can think of.
Yeah. No, make complete sense, especially the project management skills. I also emphasize upon not just for the commercial role, but also pretty much everybody in the organization should have this project management skill because going forward, it is more about orchestration across the technologies as well as the individuals, the vendors, inside stakeholder, outside stakeholders.
Right,
So let's
absolutely.
right. Correct. So moving on to the third stage of the companies, and we're still talking about the solutions provider yet.
Yeah.
The large companies, the established MNCs, and as you know, you can name IBM, Google, Microsoft of the world, but they are pretty much specific into one areas, either in the platform or connectivity or infrastructure, and they heavily rely upon the ecosystems of resellers, the distributor, the value-added service providers, and so on and so forth, right? And as we know, the customers do not buy AI or 5G or platform in silo, right? They buy solutions.
Yeah.
And most of these companies, when they established into particular segment of a solution, struggle to sell a complete solution, right? So they have the box, they have the license, but the challenge they have is how to build a solution technically and how to sell the solutions commercially, right?
Right.
So in your experience again with vendors you might be managing it, whether in current or previous role, what advice would you give them, and what are the challenges do you see which they should be addressing once they become like a multi-billion or maybe billion-dollar company, uh, and they're trying to address again this emerging ecosystem of AI, IoT, and name whatever you like.
Right. I think the first thing is all of the above, which we discussed for like last 10 minutes, that is given, that has to be there irrespective of whatever the size of your company is. And second point, which you mentioned, is collaboration, right? So you're absolutely right. I think this is the stage where they will have to think of collaborating with not only with other solution provider, but also look into their own supply chain network. And pardon me for my procurement heavy discussions, but it's more like this is the stage where you can explore client supplier relationship. um, let's take example of any big firm. I'm sure their client could be their suppliers as well, and
Mm,
that's where you need to have again that strategic commercial person to come and have the discussion that okay, these are our suppliers, they could eventually become our client as well, or
right.
these are our client, we can have them as supplier and help us getting more revenue as well as saving something on bottom line. So that collaboration, that strategic thinking has to be there. The one of the most again important option is at this stage we have seen that companies kind of lack the hunger to um, have the more revenue or save more cost, right?
Mm,
I think that is where they need to analyze a lot to become agile. Because remember, as you become big in this world, there is another startup which is growing up, and that
right.
becomes your competition, and you don't want to have the multi-layer approach to lose out to that new startup.
Mm,
So that's a vicious circle, right? Once you become big, I think you should have again the commercial person looking into looking into the data, looking into the ways to become agile so that they compete with another startup who is just coming up with 5, 10, young boys and girls setting up a firm. That's very important, especially in your domain, right? Especially to your audience, which are more into digital tech. The case is different when you are into a product or a commodity business, when
mm,
the barriers to entrance are high, and that's a complete another thing. But I think that's important. You should have again commercial focus, look for more collaboration. It could be bringing other like-minded offerings, like you mentioned, getting like smart housing would be a collaboration of so many suppliers. Smart
right.
office locations will be collaboration of so many suppliers coming together. And the last one, as I said, you need to be agile. You need to again relook into your data, relook into your solution from commercial point of view, and then
Mhm.
be agile, so that your proposal will stand out among all the new startups as well.
Right. And if I add my own experience, because I used to manage large scale multi vendor, multi tech, multi million dollar projects. Like I said, rightly, when we have to put a proposal to the customer, we do need to bring these different suppliers slash partners on board. And sometimes you have to also address the price sensitivity because, for example, if you're selling services in Bangladesh, you can't be selling at the rate of maybe in Australia.
True.
For the obvious
True.
reason, the pricing naturally services are high in Australia. But how do we still make money creatively? How do
Correct.
we recreate the package and bundle the whole services, infrastructure, support cost in a way that it does justify our investment as a company? It does recognize our revenue and the cost, everything, but at the same time, you shouldn't look high to the client because naturally, like I said, when they look at the pricing of the Australia services, they will say, okay, it doesn't work in Bangladesh or Myanmar. So this is
Right.
something which I think the established player commercially they need to look into, that how can they come up with the creative packages, and like you said in the beginning also, that There shouldn't be one price for everybody, especially the companies who are into solutions. But if you're just
Correct.
selling somebody the connectivity or the boxes, okay, they're pretty much percentage model that okay, 40%, 50%, 60% kind of discount at different tiers. But in the emerging technologies, it's difficult to create one pricing model, one structure which applies to all the clients.
Absolutely. And again, it goes back to knowing your client, right? It also comes with knowing your client and which region he's based in. So you can't have the same pricing. What work in US might not work in Singapore. What
Right.
work in Singapore might not be successful in, let's say, India or Philippines. So you have to have that knowing your client is key in this way. Yeah, I agree with you on this.
Correct. And while we have addressed one side of the ecosystem, which is solutions providers, let's try to also address the challenges which solution seekers look into. As you know, the power of the data amplifies as a multiple systems talk to each other. Right? Examples we discuss about buildings, it could be smart factories, public transportation, healthcare, and so on and so forth. And this is where the emerging technologies help. Right? So data is the while is a new oil, but we need to know how to build a good oil well
Yeah.
to be able to reap the benefit of these emerging technologies. At the same time, the procurement person in the solution seeker side of it, like yourself, uh, they need to look at how this investment will help them to be productive, be efficient in a most cost-effective manner. Unlike before, where solution seeker just need to evaluate one vendor or one technology, now they have to evaluate multiple technologies, multiple vendor, but for
Yeah.
same use case. For example, the procurement person have to decide for this predictive maintenance solution for a factory. But the predictive maintenance solution will come from three different vendors. One is providing sensors, one is providing platform, one is providing services, and so on and so forth. So, given the challenges of emerging tech solution space, when companies want to leverage this, what will be your advice to the solution seekers procurement team and
Right.
what they need to keep in mind when they are engaging with the vendors, engaging with the partners, so that both the parties get the benefit of these technologies.
Right. I mean, this is one of my favorite part, right? Being a procurement. So I'll not discuss much on the technical side of it, on how to select the technical solution. But one of the key thing for procurement is you should be knowing what's the end goal, why we're doing this. Like you gave the example of preventive maintenance. Procurement should be aware that what is the factor which requires us to have the preventive maintenance system. Is it regarding the end production related failures, or is it at the start level? And what's the key issue? So once you are aware of the full picture and the background on why we want to have this solution, your life becomes much easy because your discussion will be in that way. Second advice would be get a technical help. There is no point in saying I know everything, but get someone who knows the technicalities of it. It could be again internal, a stakeholder, which a user maybe, or it could be someone like a consultant or a collaborator who brings all the startups together. So somebody like you, CK, like you have experience of working with multiple teams. So get that technical help is really important, so that again in relation to our end goal where we are right now. The third one would be these kind of projects never get into your yearly targets, right? Every procurement team has some of the targets, and not necessarily such project will fulfill those targets. I'm talking more about savings and dollar amount,
Right,
right?
right,
So you will have to look into these projects from different set of goals. It can't be a dollar saving every time. Of course, you can achieve it, but it can't be the objective to. Again, it can be objective, but it can't be the criteria on which you will select the suppliers. Again, we all procurement people like to write victory speeches, right? After the supply is done, why we selected this supplier and so on. So this time, I think our victory speech should focus on different things and not only dollar. So it could be like what values we are bringing and so on. And one last thing is, the age-old methods won't work while working with these kind of startups and these kind of technologies. So you can't think of like three codes, or you can't think of comparing apple to apple, because you know what? There are no two apples. I mean, you are buying one apple and one pear. So these thinking has to overcome. And again, that procurement, that commercial person, which I said, I'm believing that even the solution seekers have that commercial person who can guide the procurement team on what we are looking for. Um, so these are the takeaways. I think I have seen a lot of progress in procurement world, and the way how we are dealing with new suppliers, new technologies. I'm very confident on the way things are going, and I hope this trend will continue.
Right, right. I think so. Certainly, as we call when we're selling a solution, there are three stakeholders we need to keep in mind. One is the user who is going to use our services or the solution.
Yeah.
One is the influencer slash buyer who is basically owning this within the organization. And then third is the financer and procurement who is writing the check. And
Right.
solutions providers should always keep these things in mind while they design the solution best for the users. And they always say user is the key. They shouldn't forget that somebody will else pay the bill. Somebody else will
Right.
decide is it really making commercial sense or not. Right.
And again, that comes from the things which we discussed in first half, right?
Mm.
Lot of companies have again the downgrade approach to looking into procurement, saying, "Oh, now procurement is in the picture."
Right.
But procurement is there because of a reason, right?
Right.
They essentially act as a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
We take care of compliances. We make sure that the end user or companies will not get into any financial or legal risk because of signing
Right.
some supplier which is not doing the ethical business.
Right.
We are there to make sure that the company saves the money, and hence we can utilize those money into increasing our top line. So again, as a solution provider, you should respect the fact that why this function is there, and
Mm.
then understand what we need to do to have all three ticks done.
Right.
It's very important to again educate yourself on what's going on, so a lot of things, actually, I was talking to someone, I said a lot of commercial things are basically a common sense approach to the business, right? But and that's how it is, I mean, but you pointed it well. Yeah.
Right, right. Again, this is a important topic, and I personally believe that the organization should look into while they're innovating a lot of technologies, but they will not be of use if you're not able to commercialize at a scale. Otherwise, it just become either a research paper if it comes out of academia, or
Yeah.
just another startup pitching AI solutions, but not able to scale. So we will going to have a lot more discussions on this topic, and there are a lot of other topics which I wanted to ask the question. For example, what kind of contract we need to rewrite? For example, when we're dealing with a lot of data, sensitive data, and multiple vendors exchanging data-driven scenarios, we may have to rewrite the contracts as well. We talk about autonomous technologies. If you're engaging autonomous robots in the factory, that how do we rewrite the contract that if this robot has accident, what we need to put in the clause as the agreement and the commercial stage, how to handle this situation. So a lot of such topics are yet to be addressed, and I'm sure we'll have another round of such discussion. We'll address those as well.
Sure.
But yeah, thanks, Sachin. It was a wonderful discussion with you. Thanks for your insight, and I look forward to have a conversation with you in the near future again. Any last
Definitely, I
comment
think.
for our viewers, if you like to give any message to them?
I think first of all, thank you so much. I mean, this was absolutely fun, and pleasure talking with you. Um, Last comment would be, I think again, as I said, have the common sense approach. Get commercial help. It is both ways: top line, selling your solution, as well as saving money, and bottom line. So that will be pretty much it, I think. I think we have covered a lot. Actually, we spoke on both sides. Having customization really helps. You briefly mentioned on contract, right? Again, you can't have same contract structure for everyone. Again, you need to talk to your legal team, collaborate with them. So these are the things. But yeah, that's really, I think we covered it well. We touched upon a lot of points.
Right.
So that's it really. Thank you so much, CK. I think it was fun.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.